Hello. So for here, I'm going to graph y equals 4 cosine 3x minus pi over 4. Let's factor the b out of this. So this implies y is equal to 4 cosine of 3 times x minus pi over 12. And this works because 3 times pi over 12 is 3 pi over 12, which simplifies to pi over 4. Let's take a look at our period. So the period is 2 pi over b. And in this case, my b is a 3. 2 pi over 3, multiply this by 1 over 4 to get your intervals for these tick marks. So we have 1 pi over 6. Then we have 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, and 4 pi over 6. So ignoring the phase shift for just a moment, 4 cosine of 3. So this is going to give us this basic shape of the cosine function. Okay, cosine is periodic, so it does not have a beginning or an end, but it's going to follow this pattern right here. Because this is the period, this is the amplitude, then we need to address the shift, the phase shift. So pi over 12 is halfway in between 0 and pi over 6. So pi over 12 is going to be right about in that middle line there. Okay? So everything is shifted over pi over 12 units. So we're going to have through here, and you don't need, this is not an asymptote. So that this graph goes, try to have smooth curves in the graphing of your trig functions. With the 6 trig functions, there are no straight lines. Okay. 28, y is equal to 1/2 sine of pi x over 2 minus pi squared. Again, let's factor the b out. This implies we have y equals 1/2 sine, factor out of pi over 2. That's going to give us 2 pi here. Because pi over 2 times 2 pi, the 2 simplify, pi times pi is pi squared. Okay, but if you subtract 2 pi from any angle, you get that same angle back. So it's the same thing as y is equal to 1/2 sine pi over 2 times x. And this tells us that the period is equal to 4 because we have that the period is equal to 2 pi over b. So we simplified 2 pi over b, you get 4. So if your period is 4, multiply it by 1/4 to get the intervals. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the horizontal axis. Now sine, I'm going to start at the origin, go up to the 1, down. Sine's going to have this type of shape here. And there's no other phase shift, and so that's what this graph would look like. So number 30, we have y is equal to 1 minus cosine 2x minus pi over 3. I prefer to change this to looking like this. Factor the 2 out. 2 times pi over 6 is pi over 3. And then I'll be adding 1 at the end. So what this graph is going to do is it's going to reflex it about the x-axis because of the negative. It's going to shift it to the right to pi over 6 units, and it's going to shift the entire graph up 1 unit. Now the period is going to be pi because the period of cosine and sine is 2 pi over b. Since b is 2, your period is going to be 1 pi. So we get a period of 1 pi, multiply that by 1 over 4 to get our intervals. We have pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, and 4 pi over 4. Let's deal with the phase shift and the vertical translation in a moment. Let's get a basic structure of how this is going to look. So this 2 is already accounted for in our period. Our amplitude is 1, but here we have a negative. And again, your trig functions are periodic. They do not have a beginning, they do not have an end. But let's just say this one starts here, okay, and follows this pattern. That's your basic negative cosine graph. And then we're going to shift everything up 1 unit and to the right, pi over 6. So if this is pi over 4, so pi over 4 is equal to 3 pi over 12, and pi over 6 is equal to 2 pi over 12. And so we're going to shift it almost the entire distance over and 1 unit up. And so this point will be we need pi over 6 over and 1 unit up. 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 Pi over 6 over 1 unit up. Have arrows on the end of your graphs as they go forever. We can clean this up a little bit. Okay, so this blue line is a graph of y is equal to 1 minus cosine of 2x minus pi over 3. And we can verify that this is indeed the graph. We look at some of these intercepts will be easy to verify. So this point right here is pi over 6 because we had shifted it over pi over 6 units. So pi over 6 minus pi over 6 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. Cosine of 0 is 1. Negative 1. And then negative 1 plus 1 is 0. Same thing over here. So this is pi plus pi over 6. So 6 plus 1 is 7 pi over 6. Is this point right here. So 7 pi over 6 minus 1 pi over 6 is 6 pi over 6, which is pi. 2 times pi is 2 pi. Cosine of 2 pi is 1. Multiply that by negative 1, so we get negative 1. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0, just like what we had found. Okay. Thank you very much. Please go to tutoring.